one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know there's these 2 words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps cause they know what happens next. So without further ado,
Free Smoke.
look. Scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga. That's what we do, no foundation. We don't build no more, we just screw. Half a bottle of Henny, girl, I'm going with the wind. The same niggas say they happy for me, ain't want me to win. So I'm done on my friends. Don't need help popping Coronas and reminiscing. I just call up Big Bro J and say it's time for venting. If I live forever, I hold this hate for some centuries. You don't know how much I have you doing with.
Everybody acting tough, but they up. Everybody acting tough.
Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Miami. Boston. Hey, yo. My last video, I cannot remember who I said was going to win this series at the end of the series. Yo, I'm pretty sure I said I picked Miami in 7, even though logically I should probably be picking the Celtics because it make all the sense in the world to be picking the Celtics. Because to me, the Celtics, I mean, I already went over in the last video, but the Celtics are a great team, and, you know, it's a lot of things about it. But I specifically, I remember, I think I said, even if I didn't, yo, I don't give a damn. Listen, Miami got the win tonight, but I was always picking Miami to win this series in 7. Like, Miami is, I mean, Boston is I remember saying Boston should be the favorite going into the series. I really don't give a damn, though. Even as great as Boston done been throughout these series, Jimmy Butler to me is just, and I say it all the fucking time, yo. I don't understand why. But for some reason, people don't give Jimmy Butler the credit that he deserves. Like, I notice in the media when I'm watching sports media and shit, it's like every time people talk about Jimmy Butler, it's either when something happened, like the blow up in Miami this year, or when he had that incident with Warren, I believe it was. Like, they talk about that type shit when it happened, or he a bad teammate and everything, that nonsense that they used to talk about. But I feel like Jimmy Butler, when he balling out, which is usually, they don't really talk about him a lot, yo. So it's like every time I see, like tonight, Jimmy Butler just dropped a 41 piece, right? They're going to talk about Jimmy Butler tomorrow as if like it's a shocker that he did this. When in actuality, if you go look at Jimmy Butler throughout the playoffs, Jimmy Butler is a great playoff player. He kind of remind me, I don't want to say Joe Flacco, because in the regular season, Joe Flacco really wasn't a superstar. In the playoffs, Joe Flacco was a fucking completely different animal. Jimmy Butler is a superstar to me, and a star in the regular season and in the postseason. But so I don't really want to say that, but that's kind of what it resembles. But tomorrow you're going to have motherfuckers getting on TV talking like Jimmy Butler not about this. Like, this is not what this motherfucker do on a regular basis. Like, it's so confusing because I was looking at Colin Cowherd talk about Jason Tatum, right? And why he basically was picking this. I kind of feel like after watching the media, these sports shows the last couple of days, I kind of feel like the media really is setting up Luka and Jason Tatum to fail. I really do, because as great as Jason Tatum and Luka are, and I do believe these are 2 budding superstars. If they can get their team to the finals, I'll consider them superstars. But they haven't done that yet. And I understand beating, like for instance, I said it Sunday, beating the Mavericks. I mean, the Mavs beating the Phoenix Suns, the number 1 seed. That is a big deal. That's big. I'm not taking nothing away from the Mavs. But when you truly look at that Mavs team and the matchups and whatnot, it made sense that they won that series if they played to the level of which they could play at. When you look at that series, if you just took and I remember, I understand what I said throughout the entirety of the series. But the fact that they played as great as they could, and Chris Paul became such a liability in that series, it made sense in the end. Like, yo, Chris Paul just had 5 bad games. If Chris Paul played good just one of those games, they probably win this series. And he couldn't. And so it made sense that the Mavs was able to do what they was able to do. I even heard somebody say on the show today, they was like, yo, once the Mavs realized they had shut down Chris Paul and he had nothing left, they turned their focus to Devin Booker. It's like jumping a motherfucker, realizing you done took him out, and then turning to the next motherfucker and be like, you next. But so, I was watching them talk about, I think they've been overhyping. I think they setting him up to fail in a sense, because you look at Luka, right? And Luka is a stud. I said it the other day. Luka basically done been the best player in the playoffs since he done got to the playoffs. Like, he put up crazy numbers. However, I understand when some, because there is people out there who like, yo, you cannot say he been the best player in the playoffs when his team done lost most of these series. His first series wins was this year. And he put up these numbers, but he shoot bad, or he do this bad, and so I get it when you break down the totality of the game, and that's fair. Because if I say he been a great playoff performer just based off scoring, then that invalidated a lot of shit that I say. So I don't argue with people who come back and be like, Luka has not been the best playoff performer. He been great scoring wise, but that's outside. So I understand people who use that as a thing. I'm not gonna argue that. But I will say, scoring-wise, it feel like Luka done been one of the toughest matchups in the playoffs since he done got to the playoffs. I'll put it like that. But I'm looking at how great Luka is, right? And Luka is great. And I'm looking at Tatum, and Tatum is great. But I'm looking at people say shit like, oh, nobody gonna be able to stop Luka on Golden State. What? For one, saying something like that is just... Listen, I understand Luka is an unbelievable player, great scorer and whatnot. When you set him up like that, especially when it's a Draymond Green on the other side of the court, especially when it is a championship team 3 times over on the other side of the court, you cannot make statements like that, because when let's say Luka go out there and does not put on a show, and he shoot a lot of shots and struggle and shit like that, and they lose, then you're going to start holding it against him. But in actuality, if you break down, because that's one of the things that's really been, it's a lot of shit that's been happening this week. A lot of shit been happening this week. But I just really think they setting Luka and Jason Tatum up to fail. Like, they're going to kill Jason Tatum tomorrow. He had a great first half in this game. Struggled tremendously in the second half. Even though Miami's fucking defense. So the 4 teams left in the playoffs all play good defense. The Mavs defense is the one team, even though to me they play great defense, and I don't think people gave their defense enough credit for what they did in that in the Utah and in this series, specifically this one against Phoenix. But the Miami defense, bro, the way these dudes swarm to the person with the ball is sickening. It's ridiculous. Like, yo, you cannot play one-on-one ball against Miami. And against Boston either, because Boston was doing the same thing. But the way Miami came back into this game, and I'm going to get to Miami in a second, but yo, rerouting back to my Phoenix real quick, because everybody, I'm pretty sure people saw it. The Patrick Beverly, Chris Paul shit, and on ESPN a couple days, like on Monday or whatever. Yo, first off, I just want to say something real quick before I even start talking about Pat Bev, because Pat Bev did was kind of clownish. Well, not kind of, it was clownish, but fans, people in general are just fucking stupid. I'm starting to realize. Well, I'm not starting to realize. I've been realizing that, but it's just sad how stupid. You know, it's like you think to yourself, man, they can't be this stupid, and then they show you, oh no, yes, we can be this fucking stupid. We can be stupider than this fucking stupid, and it's wild to me. Because, bro, critiquing somebody and hating on somebody It's two different things. And it's not hard to tell the difference. But for some reason, if you don't like somebody, you don't care. So let me just... Patrick Beverley was talking about Chris Paul on Get Up. And everybody been talking about Chris Paul and his struggles throughout this series, and how basically when he turned 37, he looked like a completely different player. Everybody been holding Chris Paul accountable and been critiquing him and constructing his game and whatnot, or been talking about how he been playing this series and whatnot. I've seen really nobody let Chris Paul slide. I don't even care about the energy Pat Bev had. Like Pat Bev could be, saying very, true things, but saying it very aggressively, and I could care less. But when you call Chris Paul a cone, a dude who done been a 9-time defensive team, who's made 9 defensive teams, 3 times the number that Pat Bev done made. He has actually, just fuck Chris Paul's accolades for a second. Chris Paul, do you believe that Chris Paul, if you took him off of that OKC team a couple years ago and switched him in with Pat Bev, do you believe that team would have made the playoffs that year like they did with Chris Paul? Or do you believe they would have been drafted in the lottery with Pat Bev? Because, bruh, just fuck stats for a second. How? Let me keep going. So, he called Chris Paul a cone. That's hating. Because that's clearly not true. And if he had said, he could have easily had just said, Chris Paul's age clearly done caught up with him, and he cannot defend the way he used to be able to defend. But to say this man a cone, and he ain't never been a good defender, like, what? So then you start talking. Now, mind you, also, Chris Paul having to guard Luka is a coaching problem, not a Chris Paul problem. Chris Paul should not be having to fucking defend Luka Doncic. Like, come on. And that's on the team for not being able to switch over enough to help him. But also, when you say shit like, nobody in the league done ever prepared for... Like, I'm not disputing that you have to go to bed against Steph Curry when you play him the next day. But to say you stay up all night when Chris Paul is the person you playing throughout the entirety of his career, you telling me Chris Paul ain't never kept players up at night. That's stupid. And that's hating. Like... It's one thing to be very critical of Chris Paul. It's a completely different thing to be hating. And most of you motherfuckers out there got a hate for Chris Paul that's unwarranted and makes no sense. That if you really just step back for a second and stop being so damn childish and ask yourself, why do I not like Chris Paul on such a personal level? Like, why do I act as if I hate this man as a human being for basketball shit? And then, and only then, will you realize how absolutely childish you are. But most people ain't willing to take that type of accountability. So I'm pretty sure you're not going to do that. But either way, if you wasn't such a fucking weirdo who hated Chris Paul for some weird reason, you would be able to step back and see that that was hating. But because you have this crazy unwarranted hate for athletes and players and all this type of shit, for Chris Paul in this case, you look at what Pat Bev said, and you say, oh, that's not hating. That's just him telling the truth. And you sound like fucking idiots. You sound like fucking idiots. And then when Matt Barnes turn around and decides to defend Chris Paul, and not necessarily defend Chris Paul, but just say, like, come on, bro. It's one thing to be critical, and Matt Barnes was even critical of Chris Paul. But it's a whole nother thing to do what you sitting up here doing, just flaming, just letting shots go off right now. He should have been benched. What? You benching Chris Paul for the point guards on that team. Cam Johnson was unplayable. Cam Payne was unplayable in this series. Not to mention, I still cannot figure out for the life of me how people is trying to put all this on Chris Paul. Because DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker are supposed to be the young stars on this team. Devin Booker is supposed to be the young superstar on this team. So, to continue to put this shit on a 37-year-old point guard who has never been a scoring first point guard, that's just wild to me. But the hating part, But aside from that being wild to me, I understand people who actually do that. Even though that's a wild thing to me, because I think that's just letting everybody else off the hook. The hating part of, you can say everything that I just said. You could dispute that, right? You could say, well, it don't matter that he was 37 years old. He was out there and playing. And look at PJ Tucker. He 37 and look what he do. Even though what PJ Tucker is asked to do is completely different than what a Chris Paul is asked to do. You can come up with all these different type of things, right? But you don't have to be disrespectful and tell me, oh, well, he a cone on defense. What? He ain't nobody ever go to bed early for a Chris Paul. What? One of the greatest point. And I'm looking at people in the comments talking about well, when you call yourself the point guard, you have to be able to take criticism. For one, people acting like Chris Paul the one who going at Pat Bev talking about like people acting like Chris Paul is the one that's taking the shot, like going at Pat Bev telling him that he hating. No. On top of that, who is saying he cannot be critiqued? Nobody has said Chris Paul is above critique. Everybody has been critiquing Chris Paul throughout the entirety of his career, especially these last couple years and his shortcomings in the playoffs. What Pat Bev was doing was not critiquing. It was, actually, I'll tell you what he was doing. He was critiquing, hating, all at the same time. And so what y'all do for the people who hate Chris Paul, you're trying to pick the little pieces out of that where he was actually being critical. And you'll be like, see, he just said this. There's nothing wrong with that. What are you talking about? And then I'm looking at Marcellus Wiley talk about he have a problem with what Matt Barnes did, because what Matt Barnes did was basically say that players need to know their roles and you can't speak on players if you haven't accomplished a certain thing or if you ain't a certain level. That's what he took from it. And that's me saying, how is these bozos on TV? It's no way that these bozos are this broad of thinkers or this stupid, or like the only time they decide to be critical thinkers is when they decide to think of critically stupid shit to think. Like, it's no way you use your critical thinking skills to think of this type of stupid shit. What Matt Barnes, nothing that Matt Barnes said was in the sense of Pat Bev ain't the type of player who should be critiquing Chris Paul. He never said that. He never said that Chris Paul could not be critiqued by Pat Bev. But when you say it like Steven Jackson said, if you can still critique Chris Paul without doing the hating shit you did, and also understanding if you're gonna do that hating right now, then talk about how many times Chris Paul done bust your ass. Like, be realistic as a player. Don't get up there on TV just because you're on TV and try to act like, oh, Chris Paul bad. But how, if he's so bad, how he kept busting your ass then? So, bro, I'm just starting to realize that whole thing because I saw that today. And I think the name of the show is Speak for Yourself. And it just showed me, this dude Marcellus, how did you take that from what Matt Barnes said? Like, how is your assumption from what he said or your interpretation was, and I understand everybody interpret things in their own way, but to me, him interpreting that as Matt Barnes saying nobody who was a role player or something like that can comment on players who was great. When he do this shit all the time, Matt Barnes is to be the first person who'll tell you he was a role player, and he comment on different type players who was far greater than him all the time. That's what the media does. Like, come on now. If you had a problem with what Matt Barnes said, because I didn't have a problem with Matt Barnes said about Pat Bev, but I actually did have a problem with what he said to Pat Bev. Because while I agree that he was hating on Pat Bev, the only part I probably don't agree with was the double down on the all you needed was a clown nose or a red nose, so you could whip for. That's probably, I don't agree with that extra sauce right there, even though I am the same motherfucker who say if somebody go low with you, take it to the floor. But that wasn't like Pat Bev didn't directly take a shot at Matt Barnes. But my only disagreement with the Matt Barnes thing is, if you're gonna check Pat Bev like that, why is nobody out there checking some of these other analysts that you work with? Like, why did you have that energy to check Pat Bev on foolish shit he said, when I'm pretty sure you done worked on TV on ESPN with motherfuckers saying foolish shit left and right that you have not checked? Like, you done worked with Max Kellerman. I've never seen, or you done been on ESPN at the same time on the same day that Max Kellerman said something stupid. I've never seen you say, and I just want to check Max Kellerman on his disrespect. Because Max Kellerman disrespects Steph Curry every chance he gets. Every chance he gets, he disrespects Steph Curry. I've never seen you come and say, check Max Kellerman on that. I never seen you check Skip Bayless. When you was, well, no, you don't be on Fox, so I take that back. But I'm just saying, I don't understand how you can check Pat Bev, but not check some of these other bozo analysts who never even played the game. Which is why what T.O. say continuously rings true to me. These fucking pencil pushers who judge players who actually did it. It's just so wild to me listening to people like Skip Bayless, Max Kellerman try to continuously say a motherfucker like Steph Curry got something to prove. And that to me is such a fucking problem with what Pat Bev ultimately did, the hating that he did. Because when you have a player who played a game and you got all these people who already don't like Chris Paul, when Pat Bev come out and say some ignorant shit like that to basically validate the ignorance that these motherfuckers already think, they're going to look at that and say, well, if a player who played in the NBA say that, then it's got to be true. Even though they know that's some BS, that's what they're going to say. And so the media, and of course you know nobody on ESPN was going to check Pat Bev because they a bunch of bozos too who they just love entertainment and whatnot. And I see JJ Redick tried to check him up a little bit, but JJ Redick can only do so much. But ESPN love that negative energy, bro, because they don't care about that. All they care about is the ratings and whatnot. And this little shit Pat Bev doing right now gonna get them some ratings for the next couple days, just like they have every year towards the end of these seasons when they bring in these NBA players who say a bunch of foolishness on ESPN. Mind you, Pat Bev haven't even said a bunch of crazy shit. It's just specifically when he is talking about Chris Paul, you could tell it's coming from a place of hate. It's coming from a place of pure biasness and whatnot. And like, come on, man. Really talking about me and Paul George was talking about him. Like come on, bro. And then playing that game of if the Clippers was healthy, they wouldn't have got past them, bro. Why are we playing that game? Because you could play that game with every single fucking team, every champion, any team that accomplished anything. You can play the injury game. Well, if such and such wasn't hurt than this person, you could play that with every single fucking team and every single any league, really. So I'm not trying to hear that shit. To me, when you bring shit like that up, you already about to try to go down the road as trying to hate. I can sense it from a mile away. Anytime a motherfucker do that shit, well, if such and such was hurt, oh, hate. Because that's the easiest thing to snatch on to. Oh, if such and such was hurt or healthy. Like, motherfucker, this is the professional NBA, professional football, hockey's not a sport, professional baseball. Motherfuckers get hurt. That is a part of sports. Motherfuckers been getting hurt since the beginning of time. Motherfuckers get hurt. That's just the war of attrition and health is a actual part of fucking sports. That is not an excuse anymore, bro. It just ain't. It just is what it is. They not taking the Raptors championship because Kevin Durant and and Klay Thompson got hurt. Because if injuries mattered that much, that series would have been stopped, right? And called off until KD could be healthy. But that's not how this thing go. So everybody gets hurt and you got to keep playing. It just is what it is. So that anytime somebody try to bring up that, if he hadn't been healthy, that's that hating shit starting to happen. That's that hating shit starting to happen. I'm telling you right now, that's that hating shit starting to happen. But that would be my only problem with Matt Barnes. Like, if you're going to check Pat Bev, then you got to check some of these other stupid-ass analysts. Like, who is checking Skip Bayless when he say wild shit? Who checked Nick Wright when he be disrespectful? When he say wild shit? And Nick Wright, he think he's smart because he like to use these. Well, I'm not getting into Nick Wright right now, bro. I just know Nick Wright is a terrible analyst, bro. And I agree with KD. Anybody can do his job. Dead ass. Anybody can do his job. Especially if you're a LeBron fan. If you are a LeBron sicko fan, you can do Nick Wright's job. You probably do it better than him. And you probably would be more likable than that motherfucker. Dead ass. But I have no problem with Pat Bev being critical. But the hate and shit, yeah, that was pretty. And I agree with what Dame said. Like, this man really got on TV basically talking down on the man, like hoping with ill intent on the man, basically. But then you can go look at Dame's tweet. Like, that shit not cool. Like that. And people talking about Matt Barnes, dick riding, Chris Paul. Like, y'all motherfuckers say everything is dick riding, bro. Y'all really weird that y'all so versed in the form of dick riding that y'all can call everything dick riding. Y'all need to give y'all buttholes some air. I'm telling you, bro. Y'all, I'm to this generation of bozos, bro. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Like, as soon as Matt Barnes, and then I'm looking at people say, oh, well, Matt Barnes did this to Kawhi Brown. Bro, could y'all please stop doing that? No, Matt Barnes and Chris Jackson and Steve Jackson and was not disrespect. Now, Gilbert Arenas is different. But them other ones, they was not disrespecting Kawhi Brown. Every time people was talking about Kawhi Brown, bro, they was talking about that man's game. Stephen A. might have said some outrageous shit before. But even I can't remember him being hella energetic with some of the shit he was saying. Even that wasn't, like, they was critiquing that man. They never talked about that man as a person or nothing like that. And they never said nothing that was untrue about his game. Kawhi Brown was a bad player. He got to stand on that. Now, my problem with Kawhi Brown, because I agree with a lot of the shit that Kawhi Brown was saying, but then Kawhi Brown became a big-ass diva who was looking for this type of attention and then started to say shit that didn't make sense and then started to try to attribute everything to this and that. And he a big with the man type of motherfucker. And I'm like, all right, bro, I was riding with you at first, but now you just wilding. But I wasn't riding with him, and as far as like thinking people was ganging up on him, like, nah, bro. And people was like, he fighting back. I mean, yeah, he got the right to speak on his career, but if he getting up here to talk like to make excuses as to why he was bad, like, bro, every player who thought they could have been great who wasn't could get up here and talk about why they was bad. Like, I'm not really trying to hear that, and that's not me being a dickhead or an asshole or being mean. That's life. We all got a story. You know what I'm saying? Like. And that sounds very dickheadish and real assholeish, but I'm just talking about in this context. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not an excuse in my opinion. But you know, we didn't got so far off. But listen. I want to talk about something else too. That's my thoughts on the Patrick Beverley situation, though, the Pat Bev and Chris Paul situation, bro. But listen, I also want to talk about something else because we're going to get to this Miami game. I want to talk about something else too because I was looking at, I didn't look at Raw last night, I'm going to be honest. But Sasha Banks, I'll address that on, I'll do it later. Listen, let's talk about the game though. Miami started off this game kind of slow. Why does Bam Adebayo not try to score the ball? I'm really perplexed watching this game as to why Bam does not try to become like a scorer. It's like he play like a Draymond Green role, but Bam can actually score. So I'm not understanding why he is choosing to play the Draymond Green role, because you can play that role and still try to score, my boy. Like, or do you extend too much energy when you try to score? Do you feel like your game lacking too many different areas when you focus too much on trying to score? I don't know, but I definitely know the Miami Heat could be an even scarier team if they could average, if Bam could average like 20 plus points a game. Like, when you got a big man or a dude who play in the post and play big, who could average 20 points, easy points a game, you want that, because Tyler Hero, who is a shooter, you know, he might have an off night some night shooting, so you don't want to have to rely on a 20 plus point night from him every night, especially if you're one of them efficient freaks. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I don't know. I was watching this game and I can't understand for the life of me why they don't even really run plays for Bam, to be honest with you. But I don't even think it's a not run plays for Bam. It was parts in this game where Bam can just go to work if he chose to, and he just chose not to. I mean, they let this motherfucker Gabe Vincent go to work. He don't got the credentials of a Bam Adebayo, so I'm pretty sure if Bam wanted to go to work, he could have also. Now, Bam, I'm not taking nothing away from how Bam played tonight. Bam played a great game tonight. Great defensively, and great in so many other areas. But I just think if Bam looked to score the ball, because this ain't the same thing to me as a Draymond Green trying to score the ball. Like, yeah, you want Draymond to be as aggressive as possible, but I still don't want Draymond taking 10 plus shots a game. Like, Draymond's effectiveness is not scoring the ball. If Draymond Green looked to score on opportunities where he can clearly get a bucket instead of just passing it away when he can clearly, yeah, that's cool. But I'm not looking for Draymond to come into a game selling himself tonight. Okay, I need to at least get up 12 shots tonight. No, what? No. That's not Bam. I want Bam to get up shots. I know Bam can hit the three-point shot. I know Bam can hit the mid-range shot. I know Bam can work in the post. Now, his game in the post might not be as, polished as maybe like a Nikola Jokic. Maybe his game ain't as polished as the Joker's inside. But he still can score on people inside. So I was confused a little bit, perplexed, as I said, as to why Bam wasn't, looking to get his shot off more. But ultimately, it didn't matter. Because as great as the first half was for the Boston Celtics, and it was great mostly they did a lot of things great, and Jason Tatum was on a clip in the first half. He only missed 5 shots in the first half, I believe. He ran off on a clip. This is what's interesting to me about the Celtics, on the other hand. So I was surprised that Bam didn't try to become like a scorer and whatnot. But what surprises me about the Celtics, and I'm not saying this happened all the time, but it happened enough to where it actually was, pretty shocking to me. It's kind of alarming to me, and I don't want this to sound like I'm saying these two shouldn't play together. How often Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown it's like they're not synchronized sometimes. Like Jason Tatum was going off in that first half, but Jaylen Brown really wasn't doing much. And then you had Jaylen Brown started to get going late in the game, and Jason Tatum wasn't doing nothing no more. And that's not even the problem as much as it is, I don't understand how these two, how they cannot all the time figure out how, I don't understand how it's not like a regular thing that these dudes know how to go crazy at the same time. Like ball out together, synchronized. Like it feel like every time they playing great together, it's like on a run or something. Like, this should just be normal that these two always balling out together. That's why I say Jason Tatum should be the best player on your team. But if Jaylen Brown is his second, then he should be playing like the second best player on the fucking team. But they should be playing like, it shouldn't be Jason Tatum going crazy in the first half, and it's not like Jaylen Brown is really having no impact on the game whatsoever. Like that's wild to me. Like it shouldn't be if Jason Tatum is going crazy, then Jaylen Brown is having no effect. And if Jaylen Brown's going crazy, then Tatum's having no effect. Like that's still kind of a your turn, my turn type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like the offense should be set up. And then it shouldn't be Jason Tatum is hot, and the only way you can figure out how to get Jaylen Brown going out is to take the ball from Jason Tatum for like 6 possessions. Like that don't make sense. Like they have to figure out how to get these two motherfuckers going at the same time throughout the entirety of the game, and that will make the game so much easier. As great as Miami play defense, you still have the better duo as far as because I don't think neither one of these dudes is better than Jimmy Butler. But I do believe both of these two dudes I would take over Bam and Hero. So as these two, to me, that duo is better than any duo that Jimmy could have on this team, even though I don't think either one of these dudes is better than Jimmy. However, when you have this duo on the team, like example, look at how Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero were effective throughout the whole game. Jimmy Butler didn't need 6 possessions in a row to get going, and then, okay, now it's your turn, Tyler Hero. No, Tyler Hero could score 2 buckets, and Jimmy Butler get a bucket. Tyler Hero get a bucket, then Jimmy got the next 2-3 buckets. And then Tyler Hero get a bucket, somebody else get a bucket. Boom, Jimmy got the ball again. Like, you see, they keep going and synchronize. They don't have to just, okay, now it's your turn, Jimmy. Do what you need to do in this couple-minute block. Okay, now it's my turn to do what I can do in this next 2-3 minute block. Okay, now it's back to you to see what you can do. Like, no. To me, that's not how it works. And then it's another problem is if you play the type of, when the Celtics play great and they can move the ball and spread the ball around, playing that great shouldn't also hurt Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum from being great when they have to be great. You know what I'm saying? But it kind of seemed like as good as this team is, and this really is nitpicking at the end of the day if you really want to think about it. It's just, to me, it's kind of weird how it feel like this team is not as, like, another example. So the Spurs with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu. Those dudes could play so great together where one dude is having a crazy game, but an even better example. The other night, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, game 6 Klay, right? He had 30 points. He was playing. Steph Curry had 39. They were playing. They might have been struggled shooting early and throughout the Memphis series, I understand. But Klay Thompson and Curry was still doing this thing like to where it's not okay, now Curry got to do all that. Okay, now it's your. Like, I understand somebody going nuts and having their moments like, a Curry flurry or Tatum going nuts. He just put up 17 points in a quick short amount of time. I understand those type of situations. But usually when you're not having a crazy eruption and it's just you scoring throughout the flow of a game, the other team playing consistent defense, so you got to find consistent buckets. The Warriors is good at running their offense and still involving their main two dudes and being able to play off of each other throughout the duration of a game and play great together throughout the duration of a game, so where it never feel like, okay, it's your turn. Okay, now it's my turn. Okay, you got a couple minutes to be great. Now it's dictated throughout how they play on offense and how the offense is moving. But also, I just think that if Boston could get to that, this team probably could be not unbeatable. Nobody's unbeatable, but they would be a fucking tougher team than they already are to beat. I think that's just the problem in their game sometimes. And I was just realizing that tonight. I'm like, damn, Tatum going crazy right now, but Brown not really doing much. And if Brown was giving him Tatum had 20-something points going into the half, I believe. If Brown could have had 12 points or 14 points, they probably win this game. But then you come out in the second half, and because Brown really was a stand around watching Tatum do his thing and not really being able to stay engaged throughout the flow of this team, because that's one of the worst things that happen is when dudes just stop playing and look at the dude who doing all the work. That's bad. You can't have that. You still got to be moving and being active and trying to get. So when you come out in that third quarter, and now everything going bad. Miami's defense done turned up. They scoring off of steals and defensive turnovers and shit. They done cranked their defense up. Jimmy Butler done turned up his play. Everybody moving the ball and passing the ball. Vincent hitting big shots. It's so crazy the freedom that Matt Riddle. It's so shout out Matt Riddle. It's so crazy that the freedom that Eric Spoelstra give dudes who not named Jimmy Butler or Tyler Hero. Which is why it was so fucking crazy to me that Bam Adebayo didn't have that he didn't search for his shot. And like I said, I don't want to seem like I'm asking Bam to go out there and be selfish. Like, bro, look for your shot. You should be trying. No, but I was just saying, I do think if Bam went out there and tried to find his shot tonight, this probably is an even easier win for Miami than it ultimately became. And then, obviously, Miami scored a lot of points tonight, I believe, off of turnovers. They did a great job. Like I said, Miami's defense and their ability to swarm the ball. And P.J. Tucker's... And another thing that Miami do pretty great, and Boston do this great too, but Miami won tonight, so we're just going to talk about it. The ability to have one dude defend somebody. Because, for one, like Jeff kept saying, every dude on the floor for Miami, damn near, is a great defender. Maybe Tyler Hero's not a great defender, but he try. Jimmy Butler's a great defender. And it's real weird to me that when people talk about the best two-way players in the NBA, nobody ever bring up Jimmy Butler. And he done been one of the best two-way players in the NBA for a long fucking time. But that's neither here nor there. You got Jimmy Butler, who a great defender. You got Bam Adebayo, who's a great defender. You got P.J. Tucker, who a great defender. And you mix that with two other decent defenders or dudes who try on defense, and it's just so difficult to have to defend these motherfuckers, bro. Or having to try to score consistently on these dudes, especially when you're a team like the Celtics who are trying to take the ball in. And I do think that the Celtics' younger players like Jaylen Brown and these boys got to stop with this spinning and these crazy moves when you in traffic or in a crowd. Because the way Miami, the way Boston played defense like they did on KD, you can't be trying to do all these crazy dribble moves when you got people swarming you, bro. You got to keep that bitch tight or keep it on the move. Keep that thing on a string, as they say. Because the way they swarm the ball is so many people reaching their hands out to try to get that ball from you. Miami just went on it was Golden State type run in the third quarter. And I already felt like people, because I was watching a lot of the shows today, the clips from shows today, not a lot of people giving Miami enough respect, in my opinion. It just feel like people think Miami got to this point by accident. And when you look at Jimmy Butler, when people talk about him in the media, it feel like people talk about him like everything he done was just by chance or just, yeah, it was good. But, bro, if Joel Embiid had taken a team to the finals by now and then had his team in the Eastern Conference Finals on the brink of getting to another one, do you know how they would be talking about him? Because I was just listening to Colin talk about Tatum today and give him all type of praise. And I'm like, bro, you literally describing Jason Tatum, but you really describing Jimmy Butler if you added an extra umph on that. Because Jimmy Butler is everything Jason Tatum is, except for he done even more than Tatum. But for some reason, people walking around trying to say Tatum a superstar, but Jimmy Butler not. And it feel like everybody always got some asterisk as to why he not. And I don't understand it because, oh, well, he don't do what he do in the playoffs in the season. What are you talking about? He played great during the season and he know how to manage himself throughout the season. You literally have no reasons as to why Jimmy Butler don't get the credit he deserves. Because this man is an unbelievable player, yo. Like at the highest level. Like Jimmy Butler turn his game up in the playoffs every year. 41 piece tonight, a banger. He done had a 40 piece game in every single series this playoff. So he had one in the first, the second, and now he done had one in the third. I don't understand. Like, they quick to accolade Jaden Tatum the fuck up, right? And they want to, make him the face of the league so quick. And I don't even want to say it's the face of the league, but they want to anoint him the best player in the playoffs. Because I've seen a lot of people today say he was the best player in the playoffs. And I know a lot of people going to turn on him tomorrow. But I don't think he's the best player in the playoffs. And if Luka go out there and struggle against the Warriors, or if, let's say, because I'll get to that when I get to that. But let's say he go out there and struggle against the Warriors. And then you'll have people walking around, well, see, Luka can't play like this and blah, blah. They setting these dudes up for failure. To come back to that point that I was making earlier. Because Jason Tatum is not the best player in these playoffs. To me, it's wild to not say that Steph Curry is the best player in this playoffs. He done accomplished the most. Now, if you want to say who is playing the best in this playoffs, sure, you can say Luka Doncic. But Luka Doncic ain't the best player in this playoffs. Neither is Jason Tatum. I don't know how you can get those accolades over Steph Curry or Jimmy Butler. And if Klay Thompson was healthy, I wouldn't give it to you over him either. And the only reason you can get it over Dre is because they can score. But like I said, I've been seeing people basically say the Warriors don't have anybody who can stop Luka Doncic. Obviously, Luka going to get his shots up. You have a Draymond Green who can slow that man down and can put in work on him. Like, the fact that people is disrespectful really to Draymond at this point. And this dude, Kendrick Perkins, bro, I don't know what's wrong with this dude. I don't know why he got this hate in his heart for the Warriors the way he do. But it's really unprofessional, even though ESPN and the sports media don't care about unprofessionalism. It's weird and it's unprofessional. That's all I'm going to say. But this was a big win for Miami tonight. Not just because, I know people are like, oh, well, they was at home, they were supposed to win. Well, people had the Celtics winning this game tonight. Even without Tatum, even without Marcus Smart and Al Horford, people still had the Celtics winning this game tonight. So, this to me was a big win for the Heat because it proved not only can we play with these dudes, we can stifle these motherfuckers. We can slow them down. Our defense is good enough to fuck them up, to fuck up their rhythm, to fuck up their offense, to get them out of rhythm. And that's big in a series like this where you playing against two teams with great defenses. But I'm telling you, I just can't understand for the life of me how people fucking just... Not a lot of people is giving Miami a real chance in this series. And like I said, I'm just... I don't understand this lack of respect for Jimmy Butler, really. And it's like they give him his... It's like they treat this motherfucker like he barely an all-star. That's how people talk about him and feel like. And then he win a big game, and then they'll talk good about him for a day, then they'll quickly forget about him, not mention him again until something crazy or something wild happen. It's really crazy. Shout out Big Face Coffee. Again, I don't drink coffee. Don't know Jimmy. They don't pay me. Not sponsored by him. Might be one day though. Who knows? But like I was saying, to me, and I really don't care to be ranking the best players left in the play, but not enough motherfuckers is giving Jimmy Butler his credit. Like, I think y'all holding a way too much over the Celtics beating Milwaukee. And it's not even that y'all hold too much over. Y'all just not giving enough credit to Jimmy Butler and them boys. And the way I'm seeing people talk about the Warriors of that Dallas series is just crazy to me. They dead ass talking about Luka like that man Jordan, bro. This shit is wild. And I love Luka. But they talking about that man like he prime Kobe, prime Jordan, prime Bron. And if he get to the finals, bro, fine. Everything they were saying is validated. But, whew, people love being early. So they can yell, I was right. See, I told you. It's wild. And then I'm seeing people saying that Steph Curry still got stuff to prove. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. Athletes to themselves always feel like they got more to prove. Unless you LeBron. Unless you LeBron. My man Bron said, I got nothing left to prove. Unless you Bron, I'm pretty sure most athletes feel like they always got something to prove to themselves and whatnot. But these pencil pushers loving to tell people about they, like Katie said, bro, the game was fucked up by legacy talk and parlays. But he should have expounded. It's not just legacy talk. It's these motherfuckers who ain't never done it, never been good at it, talking about legacies and shit, trying to determine how good a player was and is and shit like that. And so you got these motherfuckers getting on TV doing it. So you got a motherfucker like Patrick Beverly saying, shit, if they do it every day, I played the game, so of course I can get on here and do it too. Like, this shit just wild, bro. What they say, Drake say, bench warmers talking like starters, I hate it. Like, that's no shot at Pat Bev. I just always wanted to use that line. But that's the problem, bro. These pencil pushers, motherfuckers who ain't never done it, bro. You would think they have a little bit more decorum and respect for the motherfuckers who out there doing it on a regular basis, who actually could do it, who actually could achieve these dreams. You know what I'm saying? Who didn't have to pivot because they wasn't good enough. But, you know, I digress. What's up with my boy Curry, the two-way player? Two-way player phenom that is Stephen fucking Curry. Hey, I saw that interview thing with my man's called Steph a two-way player. Then that man gonna ask him what part of the he think about first, the offense or the defense. Come on, man. Come on, man. And then Malika tried to have some fun with it, and then Richard Jefferson and Kendrick Perkins immediately started hating, bro. Nah, Richard Jefferson wasn't hating, but he kind of was, because I understand he was trying to be critical, but I'm like, bro, if you really go and take a dive into the numbers, excuse me, Steph Curry is a defender, bro. Like, you can try to say, oh, we was hunting him back in your yeah, but you wasn't hunting him because he was a bad defender. You was hunting him because he was smaller. Not to mention, it's funny that you bring that one time up, Rick, but you don't bring up them all them L's you took against Curry and the thing. Talk about that. Listen, sometimes I just gotta let my Curry bias show, bro, because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, bro. These pencil pushes and shit, and obviously Richard Jefferson not a pencil pusher. But this is when it come into the play to me with Matt Barnes, a little bit of what him is, mainly Steph Jacks clearly stated. Bro, these motherfucking players need to know where they was at in history, bro. It's just crazy to me that somebody like and I don't really want to somebody like a Kendrick Perkins constantly questioning the motherfucker's legacy. Like, that is just crazy to me. Skip Bayless getting on TV every day questioning motherfuckers' legacies. Max Kellerman getting on TV every day questioning a motherfucker's legacy, telling you who is good and who he gotta achieve to be great. Like, what? Like, who are you? It makes no sense. And I don't like it. But because these motherfuckers change like the season, I'm pretty sure they're going to be slaughtering Jason Tatum tomorrow. pretty sure of it. But I understand these type of games just happen. I'm not too worried about the Celtics. They also didn't have Marcus Smart or Al Horford in this game. Now, granted, I don't like using that as an excuse because, like, if you want to use the injuries as an excuse, the Heat been playing without Kyle Lowry for 2 rounds now. Going on 3, I feel like. And you want to know, bro, before I end this, bro, you want to know something that Max did the other day that really keep pissing me off that he keep trying to do? The motherfucker keep trying to use that Steph Curry having won a finals MVP thing as it. And then, bro, Marcellus Wiley tried to say today, we really know who was driving that bus, KD. What? Like, bruh. Then why can't he do it with Kyrie, bro? Why couldn't he do it with Harden, bro? Like, it's so crazy to me. Take Steph Curry off of those KD and Curry Warriors, bro. I guarantee you, them motherfuckers, see how they was finna make me snap. Them motherfuckers is not winning the championship. And this is the shit that the media love to do. Instead of just appreciating Curry and Clay and Dre and Curry and KD's greatness, they rather say, well, Clay was dry. I mean, well, KD was the best player on the team. Well, Curry, he could do. Like, they, instead of just fucking, you know what I'm saying, letting it rock. That's why Kobe and Shaq had to break up. Because the media always play a role in this shit ultimately, bro. With they fucking jackass storylines and shit, bro. But that shit Marcellus said today, bro, saying that Curry, what? Like, him being able to quit. Like, I understand Marcellus done some things in the NFL, but my man's be talking like he a fucking gold jacket wearing NFL former player, bro. Like, bro, you been retired for a long time and they ain't never called your phone asking you to be in the Hall of Fame. And I understand I don't play, and I ain't never played, but I understand my role. I'm not on here talking about some fucking, Steph Curry got something to prove. Like, I'm not the motherfucker who got on here and had Russell Westbrook struggling this shit, talking about Russell Westbrook got something to prove. Chris Paul just lost. And I can contextualize him losing and understanding that's still one of the greatest point guards to ever play this game. Steph Curry got something to prove. What? He the second greatest point guard all time. In some people's mind, he the first one. And people who say that, oh, well, he can never be greater than Magic. Bro, you can just go ahead and never go. You can go ahead and suck a dick. Because I hate it when people say that. No, Steph Curry is a generational talent. He can very well put himself above Magic Johnson. Stop it. Stop it. And then Marcellus tried to turn it into a, oh, well, he couldn't win without KD. And then he tried to say, oh, well, you know, he won without KD, but let's go to how the injured Cavs was. What? How can you one instance give LeBron all this credit and then in the same sentence turn around and say, well, you know. And then I hate this thing that people do with the Warriors during that time. Because Stephen Curry was not a full-fledged superstar at that time. This was his first time ever getting to the finals. LeBron had already been there multiple times. This was also at the time when people were saying shooters could not win a championship. Steph Curry and them boys came into that thing. Clay was not a superstar at the time or even a star. I don't even think Clay had made an all-star game to that point. Draymond Green had not made an all-star game to that point. So how in the fuck can this revisionist history, can y'all, because what they try to do is say because of what they are now, that's what they were in that series against LeBron when he didn't have, no, they were not. Like, no, they weren't. And then I hate it when people use this Kevin Love was hurt thing. I told y'all I hate the injury excuse. It was specifically with Kyrie and Kevin Love because they always hurt. You sign up for that when you know they're the type of players. But specifically for the Kevin Love thing, because when Kyrie was healthy, he played good. Kevin Love never played good in the finals. So looking at me and trying to tell me that Kevin Love being hurt was an excuse for LeBron in that first time they lost to the Warriors is trash. Because Kevin Love was never good in the finals throughout that entire run. So having him, not having him, made no difference in the grand scheme of things. People using Draymond Green being out for that series, which is funny that people don't do the revisionist history. People try to say that don't matter when Draymond Green made a difference throughout the entirety of that run. So, like I said, bro, the fact that Max Kellerman can get on TV and say Steph Curry got this to prove and he couldn't do it. Bro, did Jordan ever win a championship without Scottie? Did LeBron ever win a championship when he didn't have another superstar opposite him? Because Kyrie is going to be a Hall of Famer one day. But what's my man? Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh are going to be Hall of Famers one day. Dwayne Wade is a 75 anniversary player. Anthony Davis is going to be a Hall of Famer one day. And he was on the 75th anniversary team. What are you doing right now? What are you saying that Steph Curry has never won without opposite All-Stars? If you look at it, Steph Curry winning with that Golden State team the first time had less talent as far as star power, all-time greatness than LeBron's Miami team had. And motherfuckers tell me every day that Kyrie is a greater player all time than Klay. So I am confused as to why these motherfuckers revisionist history you saying. Because like I said, at the time, those two players, Klay and Dre, were not what they are now. But y'all try to use what they are now as an excuse for that. Like, I just don't understand Marcellus in this argument, these bozo arguments that he was trying, or these fake narratives that he tried to put on Steph Curry. Oh, he got something to prove. Like, what? And like I said, bro, Max Kellerman, I ain't liked this motherfucker in a long time because I feel like he have some of the absolute worst, most ignorant, fucking clueless takes. But it just get worse and worse. All right. But tonight was a great night of hooping, especially for Jimmy Butler guys like myself, Jimmy Bucket fans, who continue to stand on this mountain and shout at the top of my lungs and preach the gospel of Jimmy Butler being that guy. He is him. Ain't nobody trying to hear me though. But I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with them. Tell somebody you love them. We're going to be back tomorrow for the Warriors. Dallas. Saint out.
How the fuck I pay a couple card notes and ain't even whipping? How the fuck I'm putting food on the table while I ain't living? Cursed from being alone with these dreams of a happy home. So when I think it's really love, I give them anything they want. I got stupid shit I did as a kid defining me lately. When I try to open up a new chapter, they still hate me. My mental, my only drug, so I'm doing this shit alone. Last time I fought depression and she got me on my zone. One bad move for thuggery, hit record from luxury. Pop said some shit that stuck with me. All it take is a mustard seed. Yesterday I caught $40 of pot those. Homie